Good evening. It is Wednesday, June 14th, 2023, and coming to you live from Studio 1A at Lonely Tree Media headquarters in Yakima, Washington. This is the Best Lamb Sports Show. It's the wrong button. Already. You know, you try and change things up. You want to make things
laid plans, right?
new and interesting, and then I went out and I know that that's the wrong button, and I hit it anyway. But anyway, I'm your host, David Lamm. With me is my son Parker. Say hello, Parker.
Hello, Parker.
We get to hear the crowd again, so that's good, right?
Yeah.
We're on YouTube live tonight, hopefully, and we'll see how it goes. But we haven't been on live in a while. But we're on Twitter at Lamb Sports, on Facebook under the Best Lamb Sports Show. You can send us an email, lambsports@gmail.com, and please check out our webpage. You can find links to the past shows and the current trivia question on lambsports.com. We're going to start off with trivia question because that's what we do here, and the trivia question is interesting. We'll see. We'll see how you feel about it.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
I am right. Exactly. I just read what's on the cue card. We wouldn't get to the end of it. So the best, the Stave & Stone trivia question for the Best Lamb Sports Show is: what team has the longest current championship drought of the four major sports in the United States?
I know the answer.
You sure?
You mean like has never won one?
No.
Or hasn't won one in a long time?
The longest between
having
so won
has
one. Well, okay, so hold on. Your drought officially starts when you start in the league, right? Because you haven't won one.
A drought implies that there at one point was water.
but also it could be between championships. You won one in 1904 and now you haven't won one since then.
Okay.
So it could be either. However,
okay.
In this case, I will give you the slight clue that it is somebody who has won a championship. But what's the longest distance between? They haven't won one since.
Okay, I get what you're saying now.
Okay,
I'm glad we cleared that up because I knew the answer immediately if it was a team that's never won one. So 100% of their years of existence.
Right.
And well, I guess that's not the answer. That wouldn't be the answer here. That's the Detroit Lions.
Well, right. So
yeah.
The Detroit Lions are not the answer.
That is not the answer. But so we're talking about between championships, the longest time between championships.
Right.
That was the Cubs back in the day for a while there, wasn't it?
It was the Cubs. It was the Red Sox. There was a lot of teams.
Though.
Current between championships, yeah.
Interesting.
I know, right? It's pretty good. All right, we'll move on. So because we got lots of things to talk about. The Nuggets and the Knights both win titles. There's NBA trade rumors out there. We're going to talk about that. The NFL has some interesting things going on in minicamp prior to the season opening. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. We'll talk about the NFL way more in depth in a couple of weeks or as we move along because, we're going to be out of other sports to talk about. We're entering that dull period. Yeah. And then we're also going to talk about tonight is your top 5 and my top 5 all-time greatest sports movies. Right? And it's going to be, we'll talk about more about the parameters, I guess, later.
Now, I don't want to throw a curveball at you here.
Go ahead.
But should we do this by like category, like best football movie, best golf movie?
I thought about that. I did. I thought about that, but
I got a long list here of superlatives, or so what's it called?
I have 5 movies from 5 different sports. That's my top 5. Not that was intentional. It just happened that way. And then I have a whole bunch. I mean, my list of honorable mentions is probably 20 movies. Not that we're going to really cover those, but I mean, just things that you should watch those. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. And some of them are sports specific. Some of them are sports adjacent. I mean, I don't know how best to describe them. Some are great, and some of them are not necessarily about sports, but I guess that could be said for most all of the movies. They're really, when you really get down to it, any sports movie is not necessarily about the sport itself. It's about.
But there are some that lean on it more than others.
It's true, but it's about someone in the sport, manager, owner, player, whatever. There's someone in the sport that the story is about them and their interaction with the sport and or others. I guess let's talk about that. I guess that's the way I would describe it.
Right.
Eh. Anyway, there's a lot of sports movies. There's a crap ton, and then again, we have to talk about what is a sport and what isn't a sport. So
Yeah.
because some of these things are definitely not sports. All right, so we're gonna talk about that. So anyway, we got a trivia question out there. Let's talk about the NBA Finals. How do you feel about the NBA Finals?
I feel like they're over,
They're over.
and thank goodness that we all can do something else once every 3 days.
Right, once every 3 days. That's what I don't understand about the finals anymore. Is that it takes so long to finish a dang series. I don't.
I just don't like that. If you're going to take that long, can we just make it like Friday through Sunday games?
Here's what I
Like,
don't.
why are we playing? Why are we taking a long time and playing on a Wednesday?
Yeah, I don't understand why we skipped over Sunday. What
Oh,
happened on
that's
this?
the Lord's Day.
What happened on this past Sunday that we couldn't have an NBA Finals or an NHL Stanley Cup game? I don't understand.
That I don't know.
Right? Sunday, everyone's off. Everyone's available on Sunday afternoon to watch one of these games.
Theory.
I mean, 90% of America could have watched one. I don't know. What do I know? I just work here. Denver Nuggets are your 2023 NBA champions. Denver beat Miami 94-89 in Game 5 Monday night to capture the franchise's first NBA title. Nikola Jokic with 28 points, 16 rebounds for the Nuggets. Bam Adebayo had 20 and 12 for Miami. Denver was just way too good. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't. I never felt like Denver was in danger of losing the series. Maybe a game, but not the series. I never felt like Miami was good.
That's a good way to say that.
Okay.
They were always at risk of losing games. I mean, there was
there
was a
close.
bunch of games here that were really tight that hinged on a miraculous three or a boneheaded play to get wins.
Yeah. Well,
the way I think about it is that the Nuggets had chances to lose this series more than the Heat had chances to win them.
Yeah. Well, and that's probably true. I'm okay with that. I never felt like Miami was the better team. There were stretches of games, and they won game 2, right, in Denver.
Right.
But I never felt like Miami was the better team. Like you could, even after game 2, I'm like, okay, well, game 2 is important. I know that because now Denver has to steal a game in Miami. But then they went out and win 2, and it wasn't even. I mean, I never felt like Miami was in that position to just say, "Oh, take a stranglehold on the series." It wasn't going to happen. They had no answer for Jokic. I mean,
who does?
Well, not many people, that's for sure.
He should have been the league MVP for the 3rd time in a row.
I would think so.
Yeah, I mean, without any offense to Joel Embiid and his talent, this guy right here just showed why not only should he have won that award, but he probably should never. Joel Embiid should never be in a conversation against him again.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess so. Yeah.
Nikola Jokic is incredible, no matter who's on the floor.
So here's the question then: if you substitute out Jokic for Embiid,
they get worse.
They get worse.
They get worse.
Okay, and I agree with that. I think that's right.
I mean, because you're talking about a surrounding cast of MPJ, who's up and down, good defender, and he played really good defense in 3 of their 5 games here. But MPJ, who's up and down, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, who's a role player,
right?
Like at best, he's a role player who can come in and bang down threes.
Yeah.
Uncle Jeff. I mean, yeah, we've got Murray, but I think Harden's better than Murray.
Right.
So I think that's a better situation for him. But he's sitting over there and he's playing with a Curry brother who's still pretty legit. So there's your Cantavious Caldwell-Pope person.
True.
He's got Tobias Harris on his team.
Yeah.
He's got plenty of stuff. And Doc Rivers, I think, is a better, I'm not going to say coach. I think he's a better motivator.
Okay.
Than Mike Malone is, but I think Mike Malone's an all-around better coach. I think he draws up better plays and things like that. So
okay.
I think if Embiid's on this team, you lose a little bit of three-point shooting ability. You
Mm-hmm.
lose longevity. I mean, when was the last time Jokic was hurt?
Right. Yeah.
At that size, never getting injured, he has sold his soul to somebody.
That's a key, and that poppens to everybody. I mean, every star Antetokounmpo and
every
Embiid,
star power forward or larger,
Steph Curry
gets hurt.
Even
Steph Curry,
Klay Thompson,
yeah.
They're getting hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's guys that lead your team and they get hurt. You know, Damian Lillard. When Damian Lillard gets hurt,
he's starting to get hurt.
Portland
more
sucks.
and more. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
but yeah. So I think that team gets worse with Embiid on. So yeah, give credit to Jokic because he's he's not only incredible, he makes that team 1,000 times better. And I don't think there's anybody like him in the league.
On the downside, there were 9 people injured in shootings or shooting after
10.
10. Is it now 10?
It was 10.
Okay, I
Yeah.
saw 9
It
earlier. I
was
don't
a
know.
single shooting. It was a
One single
drug
shooting
deal
incident
gone awry.
down in the middle of the celebration, or was it somewhere different?
It was okay. So the picture that you're seeing here where they're
Yeah.
climbing the light poles, it
Yeah.
wasn't there.
Okay, got it.
So that's 20th Street or 20th Avenue or whatever
Right.
it is. It was on 17th, which was so 3 streets over down near the Rocky Stadium, and it was about 12:30 at night.
Okay.
So most of the crowd was gone.
Okay. Well,
There were still thousands of people left out there, but there wasn't tens of thousands like you see in the picture.
It's funny because you still get that. Hey, this is what happened when celebrations happen. This is what happens when you win a title. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's still gonna be associated with it. But
it's just crazy that whole thing happened. Yeah, the news here in Denver is reporting some because they confiscated a bag that has or a backpack that had a bag of fentanyl in it, like a large bag of fentanyl. Sure. So they're saying it's probably a drug deal gone awry.
Did it ever cross your mind to go down there?
Yes.
Did it really? You were thinking about going down there and being in the middle of that?
Yeah. Okay. To say being in the middle of it,
I mean,
no,
well, even on the outskirts of it is still.
I don't necessarily want to stand in the crowd while someone's climbing on a light pole.
Although
I would say climbing on a light pole would be fun.
Not there where the flare goes off.
If my team ever won a title, I might do it.
Okay.
But I thought about like there's a bunch of bars around there.
Sure.
And yeah, they're probably jam packed, but some of them have like rooftop areas.
Sure.
That would have been cool to be up on and look down.
And you're right, but I don't know that I'm a little bit older. I wouldn't have put myself down there just because I know that shit happens and I don't want to be involved.
You didn't ask if I would. You asked if I thought about it. And my brain for a second went like, should I take part in this potential once in a lifetime experience?
But I didn't.
Like, nah.
I wouldn't have even thought about it. That's what I'm getting at. I wouldn't.
Tomorrow's the parade, and they're expecting close to 500,000 people.
Yeah.
And the last time they had a parade here was for the Avs. Yeah. And they said 400,000. There ended up being a little over 1 million. When the Broncos were here, they said 600,000. There ended up being close to 1.5.
It's going to be huge.
It was so. By the way, I think it was the Broncos parade is the largest gathering of humans in the U.S. in history.
Of humans, I like that.
In the U.S.
We had to make that specific because otherwise it would be the largest gathering of dogs or horses or whatever. But
do you know how many ants live in a colony?
I mean, yes, that's a good point.
Millions and millions.
You're not wrong, and they aren't even celebrating crap.
They're not even celebrating. They're just working.
They're just there. Yeah.
All right.
Good. That's a good point.
But I did learn that. That was pretty fun.
Yeah. Well, there's the crime scene. Just FYI. Not that it matters, but I mean, you know.
All of the people are out of the hospital, or not out of the hospital, but all the people are doing fine now.
That's good. It's good to know. Let's talk about NBA rumors right at the moment because there are trade rumors circulating ahead of the NBA draft, and New Orleans is in the middle of it. Said to be looking to make a deal to acquire Scoot Henderson in the draft. Pelicans currently hold the 14 pick in the draft. Victor Wembanyama. Wembanyama. It's an M and then an N. I just can't get it right. Wembanyama is supposed to be the first pick and probably a lock to go to San Antonio. Although I will tell you this, he looks too skinny. I'm just saying he's eating a sandwich. He's probably going to San Antonio. New Orleans would then need to trade to either Charlotte at 2 or Portland at 3 to kind of guarantee a shot at Scoot. Right. So here's the question: Is New Orleans is New Orleans going to give up Zion Henderson or Zion Williamson? Zion Williamson, is he going to give him up? Are they willing to give him up to get somebody small and go? I mean, because basically you're just restructuring then, or I mean, you're running into a salary issue because you got C.J. McCollum and you got Williamson. Those guys are expensive.
Yeah.
And you've got to unload somebody if you're going to acquire, what you think is going to be the rookie that's going to save your team or propel your team to a championship. I don't know if they're going to do that. I understand you're wanting or need to get Scoot, but you have to get rid of Zion. Am I wrong?
I think at this point the Zion experiment has failed.
Yeah.
And I've said this before. You can be a bust, but not be a bust forever. Right now, he's a bust. Right. He probably, if you'd have known that you wouldn't be able to use Zion for more than 15% of your games over the next 3 seasons,
right,
would you even consider taking him in the first round and paying him that kind of money?
Not at all.
No way in hell. That's what makes you a bust. Is if I would change where I took you to way lower based on that information.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't know if he's the best answer for the The Hornets. The Hornets seem to be bigger into Brandon Miller, and they should be because he's a better shooter and as good of a scorer at the rim, although not as physical. But he's a better defender than Scoot Henderson. Scoot Henderson kind of reminds me of Michael Porter Jr. in the way he plays. Like he's an okay shooter and things like that, but he's a slasher.
Yeah.
His goal is to get to the rim.
Right.
So I don't know that they necessarily need him, although you pair him with LaMelo, who's a great assist man, and maybe you make some magic happen with some highlight reel dunks. But yeah, I think it's time for them to consider, sliding on from him because they don't, they don't have much money left. The Pelicans don't have much money left, but the Blazers shouldn't take him either because they don't have a lot of money left to pay for him. I mean, they do have like $47 million in luxury tax space or in cap space. So
if you were any NBA team, any NBA general manager, would you take Zion Williamson at this point?
For the right price, absolutely.
Well, I mean, if it's free, obviously you're going to take it.
Well, but, I mean, yes. I would easily give up a second rounder for Zion right now.
In the
or
hopes.
a late first rounder in the off chance that he develops. If you're what's it called? If you're Coach Popovich, you should consider this. You should consider bringing him in. You're not getting rid of Wembenyama.
Right? It's hard to say.
Well, it's because you naturally want to put the N before the M, but whatever.
Right.
He should consider taking him because that's at that price for a low 1 or a 2. That's a good project. Most people's 2s bust anyways. So most people's 2s never see the court. I mean, no offense to Jokic, Mr. Taco Bell commercial, but yeah. Did you know that he was taken during a Taco Bell commercial?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is so funny. I just think that if they're looking to move people, if they're looking to get things off their books, they're going to have a hard time getting rid of Zion because of what he presents cap space wise and what his track record injury wise is. They're going to have a much easier time selling BI to somebody or even selling CJ to somebody. Although nobody's going to take, I don't think the Blazers will take CJ back for a 1, and I don't think that the Hornets would take CJ for a 1 either. So BI is probably your only real piece, or one of your young guys. What's the Herbert, or what's the young guy's name? Herbert Jones.
Yeah,
Herbert Jones is a young guy who's on a rookie deal. Take him. That'd be a fantastic person to take. But yeah, other than that, there's not a lot of people on there. You're not gonna trade Larry Nance. You're not gonna trade Valanciunas. Although Valanciunas as a center position would intrigue the Blazers. Maybe the Blazers could trade for BI and Valanciunas for a 1 this year, a 1 next year, and Nurk. And that makes you immediately more of a title threat with Dame, Shaden, BI, Jeremy Grant, and Valanciunas. That's a potent line.
Valanciunas makes $1 million less than Nurkic.
So
they're the contract,
but does a million times more effort.
It's true. And Nurk, is going to get hurt at some point in time. That's just a given.
Every year, man.
Which is why you have to get rid of him. Honestly, it's why you have to get rid of him because you're not getting anything if you can only play 40 games. That's like, and you're paying him $15 million. That's like paying a guy $30 million to play the full season, right?
Yeah.
And it's not worth it. It's just not worth it.
It is not a good deal.
The Blazers are kind of overpaying Jeremy Grant. $20 million is a lot of money for what you're getting in return. He's a good player, but Anthony Simons makes 22.
Yeah.
Those are big numbers. I don't know that I don't know. You need to free up some salary. How do you do that? Well, you get rid of Nurk, you get rid of Jeremy Grant. But if you're going to, I don't know if they're going to get rid of Jeremy Grant. He's a good player, and he kind of fits there if you had the right center to go with him, right? But can you get the right center? You almost have to give up Nurk and something to get the right center, or you've got to be willing to draft a rookie and hope that he works out.
But the Blazers got some unique pieces on their roster.
They do.
Now. So they still have Jabari Walker.
Jabari Walker's still there. $1 million. He's only makes $1 million.
He's cheap right now because he's still a rookie. So whatever. You still have Nasir sitting on your cap at $6 million. But if he can put together a full season without getting injured, he's extremely valuable. Um, and then when Keon Johnson was a big fan favorite last year. I don't like Trendon Watford, but I
Trendon
just think
Watford,
that there's still
Justice
people.
Winslow,
Yeah, I still think there's good people around there, and they have Matisse Thybulle,
Thibault.
who's still on the roster. I
Yeah,
think that's actually a great person to have on your roster. And Drew Eubanks played great last year.
Drew Eubanks was unbelievable, and
He had a fantastic year.
he makes less than $2 million a year.
But we have two first rounders this year.
Yeah.
The Blazers do, and yeah, maybe you could entertain dropping this 3 to somebody, but I don't know if you're going to take the type of placement that the Pelicans offer. A low teens pick.
So here's my question.
Or a mid-teens pick. Yeah.
Here's my question: is the player they're going to pick up at 3, and the projections are that it would be Scoot Henderson? Is the player you're going to pick up at number 3 the guy that's going to make a difference in your team? Because I don't know that Portland. What you're looking at here is now a guard. Portland is guard heavy. They've always been guard heavy. There's no another guard isn't necessarily going to get as many touches and develop like you want a guard to do because he's playing behind Simons and Lillard and Thibault and a whole bunch of guys. You know what I mean? Shaden Sharp is also a guard.
Well, and that's what I don't understand about the Scoot Henderson. Like the best case scenario for the Blazers is that the Hornets take Scoot. And Brandon Miller falls to you.
Yeah, because he's a little bit bigger.
He's a little bit bigger. He does a few more things. You don't have to play this small ball lineup for the rest of your freaking life.
Maybe
it's a good deal.
So maybe the answer is,
swap.
If you were Portland, would you take? Here's my question: if you drafted Scoot at 3, and then packaged him as a trade, sign and trade, for the number 14 pick for New Orleans and Zion Williamson.
Yeah.
Would you do that?
No.
Oh, all right. Not enough.
I just think Zion's too big of a liability.
But he'd be another forward in a string of, with Jeremy Grant, with the other guys. He would be somebody who, if you can limit his playing time and make sure he develops. Maybe.
Dude, does Portland seem like the kind of place where you really develop talent?
Well, not anymore.
Not anymore.
But that's not saying they can't.
They need to come in. Well, and that's all across the league except for, Popovich. If you don't come in ready to be a superstar, you're probably not going to be.
Right.
But here, let me posit this thought to you.
All right.
What if the Blazers trade up to 2?
Uh-huh.
All right. And this is assuming that the Hornets want Scoot.
Right.
They can get Scoot for $800,000 less.
But they can take
Scoot
at
3.
At 3, yeah.
But they can get him for $800,000 less. The Blazers don't care because they want Miller. You want Scoot. You can get him cheaper. We'll pay more for Miller. Whatever.
Or just trade the 2-3.
Or for trade for 2 for 3. Or we package our our third pick with our second round, give it to him, and then we still have another. Then we get the number 2 pick, and we still have the number 24 pick in the first round.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that Miller is a much better choice. Scoot is physical. He's dominant. He's going to be a highlight reel, but just the same way that Shaden is, I don't see it paying out.
All right. So here's my other question for you then, I guess, is that how long will Damian Lillard last in Portland? That depends on who they're going to get, right? But
we're all surprised he's lasted this long.
One more season, right? Obviously.
He's saying he's being a lot more vocal
about
and entertaining publicly the idea of leaving a little more than ever before. And that should terrify people because he's not a vocal person.
No.
So for him to be being vocal at all means that this is so forefront of his head that he's willing to speak about it.
Right.
That's not good. My guess is they got 2 years Dame left.
Yeah.
Tops. And that's provided that they make a good draft pick and seem competent this year.
It was his career high in points per game this last year in 32.
Incredible.
Yeah. And his career high, almost his career high in rebounds, 4.8. So he was as good as he's going to get, right?
That was still with missing some games too.
Well, sure. Yeah, he only played 58 games. He's technically only played 87 games in the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, but the tank season,
I get it, but he hasn't played
it's accurate.
He hasn't played a full season since 18-19 when he played 80 games. I'm going to call that a full season because you're going to sit out a couple games.
Yeah.
So that was his last full season with the Trailblazers.
But he's got a player option that he exercised for next year. So he's under contract, not this upcoming season, season after. So he's under contract through the 24-25 season.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean he won't leave, but I also don't picture Damian Lillard being the kind of player who's like, I'm done, trade me. He will play out his contract, and then he will leave, is my guess.
Portland finished 20 games behind Denver last year, this past season. Just in the same division.
Which is crazy because it's not
games.
It's, you know, what, they were 40-something wins?
Portland?
Yeah.
33.
Oh, that's so awful.
33 and 49. Yeah, and
they had 15 wins in the first 2 months.
And not one of their worst seasons ever, which is what's really sad.
I mean, I'm looking at this thing, and at one point they were what? I'm looking at their record right now. We were 10-4, 10-5.
Well, they started out hot
10-7.
too, right?
Yeah, we got to 9-4, 10-4, and then it just slowly collapsed. And then by the new year, we were 19-17.
Yeah,
and it was just all downhill from there. So we had 19 wins on January 2nd, and we ended at 33.
33.
We only picked up another 14 wins over the next 4 months.
Yeah, it's been awful.
Oof. That is tough.
Over the last 2 years, they have 60 wins. That's not as many as a couple of other teams in one season.
Yeah, but one of them was a tank year.
I'll be honest with you. The last 4 years, let's go over the last 4 years. The team averages about 35 wins. And
so since we got rid of Terry,
and they lost one of those years,
yeah.
the 1920 season, which was
bubble season.
They were 35 and 39, lost in the first round of the Lakers. And then in 2021, they were 42 and 30, which was good, but still third in the division, lost in the first round of the Nuggets. Since then, 27 and 55, 33 and 49.
Bubble seasons.
Right. And then that's all. Those are the last 4 years following the 18-19 season when they won 53 games and then got swept by the Warriors in the conference finals, which was a good year by any stretch of any measure.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I don't know what the Blazers need, but I just know that it's sad to watch them play year after year, and I know they're hanging on to Damian Lillard, and I get it, but I almost think you got to get rid of him and go new. Got to go do something different. It's going to take a couple of years to get there, but you got to flood yourself with draft picks and hope that one of them sticks. That's just kind of how you're going to have to do it. I mean, this is the same thing that happened.
Or just make the effort. Trade your number ones this year and your number one next year for Kevin Durant.
Well, yeah. Could you do that? Would you do it?
Take him from the Suns. Like, they keep trying to do this thing where they're trying to find a real good deal for somebody. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Free agency doesn't lure anybody. So you need to go take somebody. You need to make, as the Godfather would say, make them an offer they can't refuse.
There you go. All right, we're going to move forward though. NHL finals are over now, and the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. The Las Vegas Golden Knights. Which why do they got to be Golden Knights? Why can't it just be Knights? I don't understand.
It's Vegas.
I guess. It's all gold, right? The Las Vegas Golden Knights are your 2023 Stanley Cup champions with a dominating 9-3 win last night in Las Vegas. The Knights marched them with a hat trick in this one. Florida just ran out of steam. Let's be honest. They just ran out of steam.
They got worked.
Yeah.
While they were also they ran into a team that is really good offensively while they ran out of steam.
Right. And
it resulted in some blowouts.
So yeah, it absolutely did. The 26 goals in 5 games for Las Vegas.
Right.
12 goals for the Panthers. So
that's not really fair because 9 threes.
Well, but yeah, 7-2. The last game 7-2. Last game 5-2. They got blown out. 3 games of the 5 games. So
they scored. They were up 6-1
at
the end of the second period.
Yeah.
They still put on 3 more.
Couldn't keep from scoring.
There were a couple empty net goals in there.
It's true. Yeah, and let's be honest, it's one of the fastest. I think it's tied with a couple other teams as the fastest franchise to a championship in sports history. We're talking about what, 3 years? I think they've been a team for 3 years.
That sounds right,
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they've been a team. They've been a team for 3 years. So you're looking at a team that got there quick. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, I don't
That's
know.
it's an unrealistic trajectory for most
It really is.
fans. And what sucks about it is, and I've been hearing this a lot lately, is that the expansion draft
Yeah,
is really tough because you kind of get to loot people's closets a little bit
and that's
and
tricky. Yeah,
pick the best of what they have. And that's why in all of the expansion drafts that there's been, the teams that have come about have been successful really fast.
right. Yeah,
It's
and
just you just get to pick a little collection of good players.
right. And I think that we talked about this once before, but that Las Vegas was the beneficiary of being the first expansion team in a while. And the
Yes.
general managers that were of those other teams didn't really know how to protect their players. And so Las
Right.
Vegas stole a bunch of really good players. And then the next year, Seattle's here. Oh, well, we've learned from our mistakes that we're going to protect a lot of these players. So Seattle got a lot of not necessarily great players, and you could see that in their first season when they won what I don't know 27 games or something. They were not very good, but they got good in free agency very quickly over the last year. So Seattle's on the upward trend too, but I mean that's not the norm for most teams. So
Right.
yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if Vegas Knights are that good, or if I mean, they only finished one game above Edmonton in the division. So I mean,
Yeah.
they're not necessarily the best team in hockey. And for sure, Boston had all those wins, and obviously it didn't equate because they ran into Florida quickly. But we'll see what happens next year. You can't be a dynasty unless you win two in a row. So
It's true. You got
uh,
to win too.
let's talk about Jay Monahan for a minute.
Okay.
Jay Monahan, the PGA Tour commissioner, is now dealing with, as the PGA Tour has described it, an undisclosed medical issue. And he isn't handling operations for the PGA as of this moment, heading into the U.S. Open this week.
Interesting.
And if he's for sure, if he's got an ailment, if he's sick, if he's whatever, more power. I hope that he recovers, and I hope he's good. It smells fishy after the thing.
You're not buying it, huh?
I'm not. I mean, it smells fishy as in last week you were calling for his head because he said, we're going to do this thing with the LIV. We're going to bring him back. We're going to pair with him. And everybody said, oh, you're a hypocrite. And now all of a sudden he's got a health issue, which is weird. I mean, it's maybe just coincidental, but does it not sound fishy? I mean,
Is it one of those things where like you can't yell at me because I'm sick?
I guess, right? You can't be mad at me because I may or may not have cancer. I don't know.
Something my wife says all the time is I have Crohn's, and that's anytime she does something ridiculous. I have Crohn's. It's like, don't be mean to me. I have Crohn's. It could be what he's doing. He could be pulling a classic. No, you have to have sympathy for me right now. I don't know. It is suspicious at best.
Tyler Dennis, the executive vice president and president of the PGA Tour, said that Jay Monahan has received an incredible outpouring of support from well-wishers since he revealed that he will be stepping aside to recuperate from a medical situation. What is that? Anxiety? Stress? I'm not sure.
Those are medical situations for some people.
Yeah. Dennis also reiterated that the tour remains committed to its players and is determined to maintain positive momentum in a season that has provided no shortage of thrilling moments.
Thrilling moments. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, you got to hype it up, right?
Don't get me wrong. Playing golf is fun. Hitting a great shot is thrilling. Watching somebody hit a great shot, it's a little less.
Hitting a great golf shot is one of the most exhilarating feelings in sports. If you've ever played multiple sports, hitting a fantastic golf shot is one of those things where you go, okay, this is why I'm out here, and I will come back. Because let's be honest, you can play 17 and 9/10 holes on a golf course and just be awful, just dreadful. And on the very last hole, when you're lying in the sand and you're laying 6 on a par 4, but you hole it out from the sand, you go, okay, I'm coming back. I mean, that's all it is. That's all it takes is that one shot where you go, okay, I'll come back because I can clearly do this, right?
Yeah.
And it's just, but I don't know. This just smells fishy. The U.S. Open is this week. It's one of the 4 majors. It's the biggest Um, the biggest U.S. golf tournament. I mean, the Masters, you want to call it the biggest one if you want to, but the U.S. Open is different than all of the other golf tournaments. The Masters is a private tournament. It's by invitation only. You have to qualify for the U.S. or for the British Open, um, and the PGA Championship is the top X amount of players on the tour over the course of the last year. However, the U.S. Open, anybody can qualify for the U.S. Open. Any golfer in the United States can win the right tournaments and qualify for the U.S. Open.
Allegedly.
I mean, you and I could do it if we all of a sudden you just decided we just got hot. You know what I mean? And couldn't,
Yeah.
you got to win like 4 different tournaments to get there, but you could definitely qualify for it.
Right.
And it's a gigantic tournament and played in Los Angeles on one of the biggest stages, right, at the LA Country Club. It's the 123rd U.S. Open, and it's going to be huge. And all of a sudden, he's got a medical situation, I guess that's what he called it. And I don't buy it. I think he's about to become the ex-commissioner, is what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, stepping away. Let's test out somebody else. If that person does terribly, maybe we bring him back. If they don't,
right,
then he's leaving for medical reasons permanently. This is a way to bow out gracefully.
Right. Yeah, and you can't get mad at him because he's now got a medical issue, right? Yeah.
I have Crohn's.
Maybe that's what he's got too. Maybe he does. I don't know. I don't know. All right. That's kind of all I have to say about that. Let's talk about the NFL because we got a few things to talk about. Should we be making a big deal? Hey, wait a minute. Hold on. Should we be making a big deal of Stephon Diggs missing day 1 of mandatory minicamp?
No.
No. Yes.
We should make as much of a deal as Josh Allen wants to make of it.
I guess that's true.
Because at the end of the day, this all runs through Josh, through JA.
It's true.
So if he's doing fine, then I think it's all going to be good.
Okay. And I just asked because when asked on Tuesday after day 1 of minicamp, Sean McDermott said he was very concerned, very concerned about the absence of Diggs. Right? And then today, Diggs is back and he participates in the individual drills, but not the team drills, which I don't understand. Why would you come and do part and not all? That to me makes no sense. But okay. And today the answer was, well, I excused him. But you didn't yesterday because you wouldn't have been very concerned had you excused him. You would have said, I've excused him. So you didn't do that yesterday. It clearly happened today. And there is a bigger issue going on because, as Josh Allen has said, and you've alluded to, there's more to talk about. There's clearly going to be some more going on. So I don't understand what the deal is. I mean, if you're under here's my feeling. You're under contract. You go to camp and you go practice. Well, I mean, I don't understand it. You can get your agent to do the negotiations and you can still talk about getting more money or whatever it is that you need. But you're it's an obligation. Why does no one see it that way anymore?
Well, it's not that no one sees it that way. And see that's the logic, right? That's the one day of storm clouds and a whole bunch of sunny days is that it's 70 something other guys show up.
Yeah.
They're all on time. So clearly plenty of people see it that way.
Right.
But for whatever reason, whatever's going on, which we don't know yet.
We don't know yet. Right.
And once we do, if we ever get to, that'll be something to know. But whatever's going on was important enough for him to miss practice. I don't have a problem with the coach, with McDermott saying kind of not going back on it. All he did was clarify that he's like, I'm always concerned. When a player misses practice, I'm concerned. I'm very concerned. That's what it is. Doesn't matter what I'm concerned about. I'm very concerned. So I kind of didn't mind that explanation of it. Like there's nothing wrong with what he said because he didn't elaborate on it further yesterday. So he didn't really say anything today that contradicted that.
Well,
he just said that he was. Are you concerned with him missing practice? I'm very concerned.
That
can be true, and he could have been excused.
And here's what he said today was that's my sentiment with any player, in particular a player as important to us as Steph. So I get concerned when players miss for reasons off the field. This doesn't make any sense. For reasons off the field or for reasons on the field. Whether it B, they're injured or whatever it is. That's just how I am. So when I say very concerned, I'm very concerned because of the situation with one of our players. And it was something that we needed to work through. And those are healthy conversations that happen. And I'm extremely appreciative of those conversations. Okay. So you had conversations with him on Tuesday because you said on Tuesday a meeting took place with a good conversation, great communication. But on Tuesday, when you were asked about it, you were very concerned. So if you had a good conversation with great communication, why was there reason to be concerned?
Because of what the conversation might have been about.
I get it, but I mean, we got.
So let's say you have a conversation with your players because you're having some sort of argument or disagreement or whatever it is,
right.
And he's getting really frustrated, really upset. Maybe he says things he's gonna regret, and you're like, all right, man, just take the day off, cool off, and we'll talk about it in a day or two.
So right.
That doesn't mean you're not concerned with the situation.
And I get it.
And he's excused.
My question is this: if you signed a 4-year, $96 million extension last offseason,
right?
Why are you worried about what has happened now, and why can't we know about it? Because
that's what makes this so unusual. Stephon Diggs does not have a track record of being difficult.
No.
So
if
what
he's
happened? Being difficult, you want to believe that he's being difficult for a reason.
For a
right?
reason.
I think intuitively we all kind of look at players and go, "You're getting paid. What's the problem?" But also, that doesn't mean that like, what if Sean? Not that the coach did this, but what if the coach used some sort of inappropriate language towards him?
It could be.
He doesn't want to be around him. He doesn't want to be around him for a day or two. Like that's completely justified. Just because you're being paid a lot of money doesn't mean you're being paid a lot of money to deal with some things. You're being paid a lot of money to take hits and catch footballs. You're not being paid a lot of money to be disrespected necessarily.
I don't know. I feel like you can disrespect me all you want for $96 million.
I feel like that's easy for people who don't make $96 million to say.
Well, yeah, it absolutely is.
But once you're on your third NFL contract, and and everything's bonus, right?
Yeah.
You're making $96 million because you made a bunch of money last year too. You made a bunch of money the year before, so you're not worried about the money anymore.
Let's be honest, though. That's not the case.
I don't know
Sean McDermott didn't disrespect him. That's not.
I severely doubt he did.
Right.
But that's what. But again, I also don't know.
Right.
That Diggs did anything wrong. I have no reason to believe he did.
And my point is, tell me what happened, and I will be okay with it. But don't tell me nothing, because you're telling me nothing. Nothing happened. And I excused him. There was something. We had a conversation. I excused him. For what? What did he need to be excused for? Why did he need to miss minicamp? Why was all these other players are here doing what they're supposed to do, and he decided that was something he didn't want to do today? Why is that the case? Tell me what happened, and I'm okay with it. I don't care what the reason is. Just tell me.
Yeah.
But you aren't telling me anything, and so I'm going to assume there's a problem. Because that's just how.
There's clearly a problem.
Right. There's clearly a problem.
Because
But what is it?
But
is it physical?
Is that for us to know right now?
Is it physical? Is it contractual? What's going on?
Well, the only clue that we have into it is Josh Allen say internally we're working on some things not football related.
Not football related. So I'm going to assume it's not physical. He's not physically hurt.
The only thing that we know about the situation.
Right.
Is this little bit of clue that Josh Allen's given.
So my 3 things are it's either physical, mental, or contractual. Those are the 3 options in NFL.
Well, it's not contractual. I doubt that.
I don't know. Maybe he's saying there's another wide receiver that's making more money than me, and I don't think that's the case because I'm the best wide receiver. And even though I signed an extension last year, now that someone else has signed, I want more money because that just sounds like a regular NFL wide receiver to me.
Right. And there are some guys that I would see doing that. I have see, this is it. We're so easy to say, oh, that's just what players do. Players are greedy. Players are whatever. Players are stupid. Players are snarky. Players are this. Players are that. Players are this. This could easily more be the Bills' fault. This could be Josh Allen's fault more than it could be Stephon Diggs' fault.
It could be.
And so it's hard to say, but I have no reason to not trust Stephon Diggs.
All right.
He's been good. He's been loyal. He's making 30 or was it this year? He makes $2.5 million, $21 million signing bonus. Holy crap! They loaded that strange.
Right, because it's different.
He makes $23 million this year, but it's 24.5. But it's mostly in a signing bonus.
Right? He got a bonus. He didn't get which you can tax heavier, right? Anyway, let's talk about Lamar Jackson for a minute. Does Odell Beckham Jr. coming to the Baltimore Ravens make them better?
Yes.
Okay. Is Lamar Jackson going to have a better season this year with OBJ there?
In theory, yes.
Okay. And the reason I ask this is because can he stay healthy long enough to make a difference this season to do those things and make Baltimore and Lamar Jackson better? And the reason I ask that is because OBJ has 4,122 yards receiving and 35 touchdowns in his first 3 seasons in New York. Since then,
Yes.
he has a total of 3,782 yards and 21 touchdowns in the last 7 seasons.
Right.
So combined in the last 7 seasons, he's not anywhere near the production he was in the first 3 seasons. So and injuries have been a gigantic part of that.
Right.
So you're taking a gigantic gamble if you're Baltimore that he can play and benefit your team and be a productive part, and that has to do with being healthy. Are you planning on OBJ being your number one wide receiver? Because if you are, I think you're mistaken. I think that's a problem. If he's
Yeah.
going to be number 2 or 3, okay, we can work him in. But then the question becomes, how much are you expecting him to carry the load at wide receiver? And will that help Lamar Jackson, who, let's be honest, is a good passer,
Right.
but he likes to run as well, right?
Sure.
Which takes a passing yardage away from a wide receiver. I don't know. It's just weird to me. It just seems like I don't think you're better off with him, with that particular wide receiver, than you are without him. It would be interesting to see the numbers at the end of the season. We'll talk about that at the end of the year, but I
Well,
don't.
so he's on a 1 year deal,
Right.
right? And he's a little expensive, but they have cap space to play with, and they don't have a lot of wide receivers.
Right.
He makes their wide receiving room better.
Okay.
Plain and simple. If he's on the field. So
If
when you
he's
asked
on the
earlier,
field, right.
does he make Lamar Jackson better being there? Being there, no. Being on the field, yes.
Right.
Being
That's
on the
what.
field and playing, he makes Lamar Jackson better. If he's not playing though, he doesn't cost so much this year that it's such a big deal. It's
Here's
not great. You don't love to pay them that money, but
right. And here's my
it-
question:
in the world.
if he's going to help you that much, you took a wide receiver at number 1, right?
Yep.
23rd pick. They picked Zay Flowers. I'm not 100% certain that that's what. Okay, let me back up. Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham Jr., Nelson Aguilar, Devin Duvernay.
Mhm.
Those are your basic top 5, let's say, wide receivers.
Yeah.
On this team. And you got Zay Flowers as a starter listed in your roster right now as your depth chart as a starter as a rookie ahead of Duvernay and Aguilar, which okay.
Yeah, but he's in your wide receiver 3 spot. Like that's
right.
not.
Well, it's true.
Eh.
But I mean,
they have Bateman listed as their
the
1,
1, yeah.
and Odell as their Y. So
You have
it's not that bad. And Mark Andrews is still your top threat.
You have Laquan Treadwell on this team. That's true. Mark Andrews
You
is
do.
probably one of the best tight ends in the game.
Yeah. So I just don't.
I don't know.
Their wide receiver room got better with the addition of Odell. Okay. It might get better with the addition of Zay, but he's a rookie. Hard to say. But between Rashad Bateman, Odell, and Mark Andrews, there should be somebody open most plays, assuming Lamar finds them. J.K.
Right.
Dobbins should be back and healthy again, and he provides not only a run option, but he's a fantastic catch receiving back.
Just as an FYI, Rashad Bateman has played in 19 games in the last 2 years. His 2 years in the NFL.
Sounds right.
I mean, he has 800 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns in his 19 games. It's not the guy you would normally put out there as your number 1 wide receiver. The guy who played less than half the games last year.
Yeah, and maybe they have him listed fine. Did he play the back half of the season or the front half of the season? I can't remember. I know he got hurt, and I just couldn't remember when he got hurt.
So he played the first half of the season.
First half of the season, it looks like, yeah.
Yeah, through October.
Yeah. But he was. I mean, he didn't. I think about him like I think about some of the other guys around the league, which is that they're not getting 100 yards a game,
right?
But they're making these like impactful little catches constantly that are difficult to defend, and they're decent route runners. So but coming off an injury, hey, who knows? You know. But what's it called? Devin Duvernay did really good last year. Or not last year. He did really good in place of him, as good as he could last year. He's still also, when you look at the stats, it doesn't look like much. So you're trying to think like, you know, is Lamar Jackson even going to be able to get these guys the football?
Right.
Because he had 2 of these receivers last year, and he didn't really get them the football that much.
I don't know.
But Nelson Aguilar is a huge. I think actually Nelson Aguilar is going to end up taking the place of Rashad Bateman, and
He
you're going to
could.
have Aguilar, Beckham, and Flowers and Andrew.
And that's entirely possible. Last year, Aguilar played in all of the games.
Right.
So, he was there. He only had 31 receptions last year, 362 yards.
Right.
It's not great. It's not ideal. He only he literally had 4 games where he had 5 games where he was targeted one time.
Yeah.
I mean,
it happens.
I know. I get it. But this is what I say about Lamar Jackson is there are times when your best wide receivers are not going to be targeted. If the offensive line doesn't make him a pocket and make it comfortable for him, he's immediately going to run. And he's a great runner. Why wouldn't you? So it makes it hard for a wide receiver to do anything when the quarterback is running downfield. Once he crosses the line, you're done as a wide receiver. Now you're a blocker. So
Right.
It's interesting to watch that dynamic. We'll see how good OBJ is as a blocker. I don't know. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. We'll see how Baltimore goes.
I just don't see a way that he makes them worse.
Not saying he makes them worse.
He might corrupt the locker room a little bit.
I'm saying that he might be irrelevant. Is what I'm saying. It might not make any difference in your record. It might not make any difference in your stats.
But he's also got a new offensive coordinator.
It's true.
So
it's true.
Who knows what it's going to look like?
Agreed.
Realistically, I still think it's going to look fairly the same. But
they were 2-4 last year to start the season. Finished 10-7.
They got hot. Yeah.
Kinda. I mean, I'm not sure I would go hot.
I went 6-3 over the back half of the season.
They did.
That's pretty hot for an NFL team.
That's pretty. Yeah, you're right. And then lost playoff game to Baltimore or to Buffalo. So, but
who lost to Buffalo?
Yeah, 35-23.
Jeez.
So, yeah,
I think they'll be fine.
Okay. I mean, we'll see. I guess we're gonna find out.
I think the Browns are the only wild card in that division, right?
The Browns.
Are the Browns going to be better or not? Because if they are, then the Steelers should be about the same.
That division outside of Cincinnati the last 2 years is about as mediocre as you can get.
It's pretty basic, yeah.
Yeah, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland. It could be any of those teams as the 2. Don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it depends on who Baker Mayfield's playing for. Anyway, I don't know.
Good one.
Let's talk about sports movies because
okay.
we're already a long ways into this. But greatest sports movies is what we decided we were going to talk about the second half of the show today. What constitutes a sports movie? And we talked about it last week a little bit. Is it going to be that it's about the sport, or is it about a person in the sport or a person near the sport? And what sport actually qualifies as sport?
I need sports to drive the movie.
Okay.
Right. To be the vessel that takes you from A to B, to take your main character from A to B, wherever they're going. So, it being a backdrop to some other things, there's not a lot of them on my list that are like that, but there are some movies out there where sports is just kind of a side note of a much, much larger story, and so much to the point where it's kind of like featured like less than 40%, 30% of the movie. But that being said, like especially anything where it's so tough to describe.
Right, isn't it?
In my head, it's what's it called? I know when I see it.
There's
I know a sports movie when I see it, and I know which one isn't.
and that's what makes it hard is that you've got these two different things. You've got is the sport a sport? Is the movie about that sport? Right? Those are two different things. And okay, so let's start with your I don't know, you want to go backwards, number 5 through number 1?
I didn't rank them.
Okay, good.
But
give me a movie.
So
on your list.
I'm gonna give you one of my 5. It's
okay.
Cool Runnings.
Cool Runnings is on my honorable mention list.
Is on your honorable mention list? Perfect.
Yeah.
See, that is a movie that it isn't. It's kind of about sports.
Right.
Well, it's very much about a sport.
Right.
But it's also about Maurice and trying to get to the Olympics like his dad did.
Right.
That's the primary catalyst for why he took part in this crazy scheme to be the Jamaican bobsled team.
Right.
For all the other people, it was, it was kind of inadvertent. The what's it called, Junior? I don't
Right.
know what he was trying to do exactly. The big guy, Baldy.
Right.
That's
And
what
that had all to
Sokka.
do with they were sprinters and they
They
had
were all
trying
sprinters,
to
and
make
then
the Summer
Sanka is just
Olympic team.
along for the ride.
Right.
Yeah, they were all trying to make the Summer Olympics for them, and all three of them
You,
lost in one race.
you dead man.
You dead man. So, but it uses sports as the catalyst for the whole thing. It's got some of the best quotes
It
when he's
does.
like, "Ice, I mean snow and freezing water
Right.
and ice." And we really and I like that. Also, the Einsweidrei when they're
Right.
trying to push the cart to
Right.
start is always fun.
Yeah.
It's a feel good movie. It's got good lessons in it about standing up for yourself, about believing in yourself, about trying new things, like all
Right.
these great stuff.
Yeah.
So, and of course, it's family friendly,
Right.
which is not a necessary qualifier, but it doesn't hurt.
Right. No, okay. And I'm okay with it. I'm gonna give you mine in order, but that's okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you number 5, which you ready for?
Mm-hmm.
Hoosiers.
Oh,
1986. Gene Hackman, Dennis Hopper, Barbara Hershey. Dennis Hopper was nominated for an Academy Award for his role in Hoosiers. 2001, it was selected for preservation in the U.S. National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant.
Right.
Not many movies can say that. Not sports movies, especially. It's a feel-good movie that is unapologetically underdog story on two fronts: the team itself and the coach, who had a bad experience. Blah 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 blah. It's one of those movies where you want the coach to do well, you want the team to do well,
Right.
and it makes you feel good when it's done.
And it laid the groundwork for a bunch of other movies that were very, very similar. Of like, a coach comes in, he's disliked by the players,
Right.
he starts winning their trust while the community doesn't like him,
Right.
and then he starts winning their trust, and then the team has success, and like very Coach Cartery.
It's a good movie, but I mean,
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Coach Carter's an apt, like, kind of remake of
It is.
sorts of Hoosiers.
right.
That's
All right.
not bad.
Give me another movie. Top 5 in your top 5.
All right, we're gonna go with the movie Goon. Did you ever watch Goon?
Yeah, with Sean
Sean William
Scott. I keep going to say Shawn Michael Scott. Sean William Scott.
And Jay Baruchel as his goofy friend.
Right? Who's rooting for him up in the stands. There's a lot of foul language, by the way, from Jay in that movie.
I just like when he's like, "What number do you wear?" He's like, "Pick 69." It's hilarious.
and then it's got Liv Schreiber as the other goon, right? The other
enforcer,
thug from the other team.
But I thought it was a good movie because, like, it was obviously a find your place in the world story for Doug. Find something you're good at, or kind of aimlessly wandering. It was a little bit of a love story thrown in, but it didn't overcloud the other stuff. But
I like it.
There was enough on ice, and it was a developing friendship story with him and the guard, or not the guard, the forward, the captain.
Yeah.
The Flame, or whatever his name is.
And the mullet was fantastic.
The mullet was pretty good.
I mean, that's a hockey mullet, and that's what they do.
I liked it.
Yeah, it's a good.
Goon is up there on my list as a movie that I can watch over and over again, and I never feel bad about it and stuff.
And I'm glad you picked that one, because now my number 4 is also hockey, which is.
Oh, can I guess?
Yeah.
Is it Slapshot?
It's Slapshot. Yeah. 1977.
Do you have any movies after 1990?
No. I was close. I'm close, but no.
Slapshot's a good one.
1977. Paul Newman is the player coach, right? Resorting to questionable tactics to boost the revenue of the Charlestown Chiefs, the minor league. It's a steel town, and if you haven't watched it, if anybody hasn't watched it, it's raunchy. There's a lot of bad language, but there's some sex scenes. It's violent. I mean, very violent. In terms of hockey violence, and it's very, very funny. And if you haven't watched the Hansons, and if you don't know who the Hansons are, they're not the Mbop Hansons. It's a different set of Hansons, but there are also 3 of them. So when you watch them on the movie and they're playing their little slot cars in their motel room, when the when the coach knocks on the door, right, and then the pre-game fight that they get into, right, when they're doing warm-ups, is absolutely one of the best scenes in all of sports movies. Yeah, because they're standing there during the national anthem bleeding, and the referee can't stand it. And about halfway through the national anthem, he turns around and starts yelling at him, "I will not have any of that on my ice." Blah blah blah. And the guy says, "Shut up and listen to the song." And right, I'm like, yeah, that's it's great. Anyway, it's a great movie. It's a timeless hockey movie. You can watch it now, and it's still hockey. I mean, it's still
One
good,
of my favorite quotes is the "none of that stinking root beer" quote.
right?
I said to Cassie all the time whenever she's going to the store, she's like, "Do you want anything to drink?" I'm like, "Yeah, can you get me like a Monster and can you give me like this and none of that stinking root beer."
That's sticking room here. You gotta say it with a slight Canadian accent,
Yeah.
otherwise it doesn't come across right. All right, go
That-
ahead. What's another one?
all right. So my next one is Tin Cup.
Tin Cup golf movie,
Yeah.
right?
Put a golf movie on there because it's got the right. It's again a redemption story. Who doesn't love a redemption story?
Right.
A washed over the hill golfer, still got it. Starts competing, but has a temper issue. All sorts of stuff. But he's also
Right.
kind of doing it to impress a girl. So,
Yeah.
but golf is the primary carrier across the whole thing. The scene where he's trying to hit the pelican off the perch is really good.
Yeah.
The scene where he takes like 16 cuts at that one ball
Right.
when he gets
Keeps
angry.
trying to hit it. Right.
And then of course his caddy's great.
Oh yeah.
I forget who plays him, but his caddy's great.
Oh yeah. So that's Cheech Marin.
This is Cheech Marin. Dang it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Chong, but it's the other one.
No, that is Cheech Marin as his coach Romeo, as his
That's
swing
Romeo,
coach
that's right.
/ caddy Romeo. And yeah, I agree. I agree with it. It is on my honorable mention list. It did not make my list, but I have another golf movie. But yeah, I love that movie, and I will watch it. It's one of those movies I'll sit down and watch when it comes on, just because I know I've
Yeah.
seen it 100 times. I get it, but I'll still watch it. Um,
Also Don Johnson, great bad
Don
guy.
Johnson was good in this movie, right?
Does he not just fit the golf outfit well?
Yeah, he
Like
looked
the khakis and the polo. He just wears that well. He plays Snooty Rich well.
right. Yeah, no, he does.
Very cool. What's your next one?
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm sitting here looking for the quote that I wanted to say from Tin Cup, but I can't necessarily. There's so many of them, and I can't find the one I wanted to say. But anyway, no, we'll worry about it later. The part at the driving range when he comes up to the U.S. Open and he's at the driving range and he's got the shanks and he's hitting the ball weird, and Romeo tells him to take all the change out of his pocket and put it in the other pocket.
That's right. Yeah.
That's all it takes in golf, and I'm not joking. If you've ever golfed before, you there's something wrong, and you start hitting the ball, and you go, "What the hell is going on?" If you'll just change something, I swear to God, all of a sudden your mind goes, "Oh, it's okay now," and all of a
Yeah.
sudden you do it right, and you're like, "What the heck just happened?" Because I have no idea why I was so bad just a minute ago. Anyway, there you go.
I think one of the times I was hitting badly at a golf course, you told me to
Yeah.
put my tee in my laces or move my tee to my
Yep.
other foot or something like that.
Yep. I know. It's hilarious. Anyway, all right. So it's funny because these are lining up a little bit. My number 3 is Caddyshack.
Caddyshack, classic.
Another golf movie, right? 1980. Bill Murray, Chevy Chase, Ted Knight, Rodney Dangerfield, Cinderella story, tears in his eyes, I guess.
This is the first one that you're gonna say that I think is closer to not being a movie about sports.
It's all about golf.
Kinda.
I mean, different guys playing golf, but it's a story of golf. It's as big.
guess that's true, yeah.
It's much about golf, as Hoosiers is about basketball. There's one guy, the coach. It's a story about the coach, right, in basketball.
Right.
This is about a bunch of guys that play golf at a country club.
Right.
So, anyway, this was Harold Ramis's directorial debut. And probably my favorite line, and there's a lot of good lines, there's a lot of funny lines in there, but probably my favorite line is Rodney Dangerfield in the pro shop. Ted Knight's got that hat on, and he goes, "This is the worst looking hat I ever saw. You buy a hat like this, I bet you get a free bowl of soup. Looks good. Looks good on you, though."
It's good on you. Though.
That was hilarious, by the way. All right, what do you
Yeah.
got? What do you got? One more.
Well, first of all, one of my favorite things about Caddyshack, if you haven't seen the movie about Doug Kenny and the beginning of the Harvard Lampoon. That's called a Futile and Stupid Gesture.
Hmm.
Watch it because they cover Doug Kenny's entire life from being at Harvard through his death, and it's like it's a comedy movie, so everyone is played like there's actors playing everybody. So he's played by not Will Arnett. Oh my gosh, Will Forte.
Will Forte.
Right. Chevy Chase is played by Joel McHale. David Wayne plays an interviewer. Like it's all celebrities, it's all like SNL cast members and things like that play real people. Thomas Lennon plays another person on there. Ed Helms is in it. Like everyone's in this movie, and they all play real people. Seth Green's in it. But anywho,
Right.
watch that, and it gives you another perspective on the Caddyshack movie because the studio hated it. They hated it, and they're the ones who put the gopher in it, and he didn't want to put the gopher in it, and so he made it like even more stupid because of the gopher, like on purpose.
Right.
Like it's funny.
Yeah.
But anywho, so my next one.
Uh-huh.
I want to pick between two here because, like I said, I have a whole bunch of. You know, I'm gonna go with Little Giants.
Little Giants. I see, and I didn't even have that on my list. But it's a classic.
Movie. That it's a redemption story. No,
is it? Yeah.
No. It's a brothers fighting amongst each other story is what it is.
It's a
sibling rivalry.
Sibling rivalry. Yeah.
But it's an underdog story.
Yeah.
Is the tale there is using brain over brawn to beat a bigger, better, stronger team.
Plus you got the ice box.
And our league name for fantasy has been the annexation of Puerto Rico for years.
That was the best in that movie, right?
That's right. The annexation of Puerto Rico. I say fumble Rooski anytime I see the ball. Anytime I see the ball hit the ground.
Yep.
Yeah. It's one of those movies that really sticks out.
Ed O'Neill was probably best in that movie. I mean, it fit him to a T. Being the overbearing coach, win at all costs. You know what I mean?
Always chewing the gum.
He was so he was so good in that movie as not only as an overbearing older brother, but also as a football coach. It was amazing. So
yeah. I like the intimidation thing by putting the whatever it is, the foamy stuff in their mouth and then sitting at the lantern.
Yeah,
it's so stupid.
Right.
I like that whole movie. Or what's the don't you talk about my mama? The little kid with the thick Coke bottle glasses. It's so good.
And the big snot bubble coming out of his mouth at that. Anyway, that's a good one. I'll go with that. Okay, so I'm gonna get my number 2 movie. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams.
1989. Kevin Costner, Ray Liotta, James Earl Jones, Amy Madigan, Burt Lancaster is in that movie as Moonlight Graham, by the way. Nominated for 3 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. And no one who knows anything about movies or sports would not know, if you build it, he will come.
Right.
That line is iconic, right?
Sure.
Here's what you don't know. Tom Hanks was offered the role of Ray Kinsella first. Before Kevin Costner got a shot at it. And he passed it up.
I think it still would have been good.
I think it still would have been good, but it would have been different. He has a different.
Kevin Costner's
style.
More intense looking, so like these scenes of like high intensity
when he
things
gets
like that. I think it suits Kevin Costner's face a little more. Tom Hanks does not, although Saving Private Ryan he looks pretty intense, but he does not look very intense. He's kind of goofy looking from like a standard point, especially back in the 90s. He is very goofy looking. So I think it would have still been good, though. I think it still would have been great. But the line would have sounded like all of the lines would have sounded different.
He would have delivered them differently, right? But the field is still there. You can go to that baseball field. That's how iconic this movie is.
They play a game every year. Yeah,
and they don't do that anymore. This year was the last year.
Oh,
I know, but the Iowa State baseball was playing championships there at that field. You know, it's an iconic part of America now. I guess. Yeah. That's what makes it a good movie, is that this became a thing. You know what I mean? And you can always say, if you're building anything, you can say, if you build it, he will come. But it's a father-son story. It's a feel-good story. It's also a redemption story. Ray Liotta as Shoeless Joe Jackson. It is all of those stories in one, and it's different than baseball in that the Moonlight Graham story, right? Yeah. They said it's hilarious. It's one of those things that as a baseball fan, you realize they went to him because they thought they were supposed to help him get an at bat in a baseball game because he didn't get a chance to get an at bat. He played in the outfield for half an inning in the major leagues, right? So they bring him along to the game, and what happens in his one at bat? Do you remember?
No.
He gets one at bat, and he hits a sacrifice fly, and a run scores. Do you know what that means?
Means it goes up in the air and he's out and it's done. It doesn't count as a hit, right?
It means he has 0 at bats still. It doesn't count as an official at bat. He gets an RBI, but no at bat.
Interesting.
And so he still has no at bats, but what he does is save Karen? Is it Karen? Saves her life from choking on a hot dog.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's that. It's one of those things when you see it and you go, that's amazing that they thought about that. Somebody wrote that out and said, yeah, he's still not going to have an at bat, but he's going to have an RBI and he's going to save someone's life, and he did get a chance to hit. Hey, and that same at bat, it's also he's not going to want to load the bases, right?
Yeah.
So, right? Look for low and away, but watch out for in your ear.
Watch out for in your ear.
That was one of the best lines ever. Watch out for in your ear. Hey, Ump, how about a warning? Okay. Watch out you don't get killed.
Yeah. Do we need a catcher? Is that what he says?
Right?
Do you need a catcher? He says something like, not if it's wherever.
Not if you put it near the plate, you know.
That's what he says. Not if you put it near the plate. That's right. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. I should probably watch it again.
It's a great movie. Anyway, there you go. There's my number 2.
I always remember being confused by that movie because it starts with him in a cornfield.
Yeah.
Holding a baseball bat and like yelling at the sky. You're like, what the hell am I watching right now?
I don't think it's a baseball bat. I think he's holding a rake or a hoe or something.
Or something like that. Yeah. He's holding something.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it's like, this is the beginning? No.
Yeah.
It just kind of jumps right in to a moment. He's already hearing voices.
Yeah. Well, it takes him a minute. He has to explain that they bought the farm and that they spent as long as he could with her parents, almost a whole afternoon. Anyway, yeah, it's good though. I mean, it's a good movie. Anyway, go ahead. That's number 2. That's not even my favorite movie. Not even my number 1. I guess not my favorite. If it was favorites, it'd be different. My list would be different. These are the best movies. Go ahead. What's your
My number 1 is Ford versus Ferrari.
Okay. Racing
movie. It's really kind of just about racing. I mean, there's a little bit of Carroll Shelby's business isn't doing too well, and he's trying to get right. And there's a little bit of, Miles isn't is it Nick Miles? Nick Miles? Whatever his name is. Oh, no, Nick Miles is the guy I work with. Whatever his name is. Miles. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I said it, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, that's not the name. But there's a little bit of the driver, Ken Miles, trying to not necessarily redeem himself, because at the beginning of the movie, he's winning circuits.
Right.
But to kind of compete on the biggest level. It's just a desire to compete on the biggest level. But his business is failing. So he takes this job driving for them to pay the bills, or working for them to pay the bills. So, but I love that not only do you get to see racing, not only do you get to see the evolution of a vehicle, not only do you get to see the evolution of, like their brake system. Like that was really cool watching them like design a completely interchangeable brake system. And then, Ferrari's getting all pissed and telling them they can't do that. And they're like, no, it's a part. We can change any part. I just thought it was a really good movie from start to finish. Yeah. And of course, Matt Damon's great. Christian Bale doesn't hurt anything. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, I will tell you this, and in all transparency, I haven't seen it.
You need to watch it. Yeah. It is really
I know what it's about, and I've seen the synopsis and read the stuff about it and the reviews of it, but I have never seen it. And I one of these days I'll have to watch it. But I heard it's really good.
Yeah, so. It's pretty darn good. I was really impressed by it, and that's why it flew all the way to the top of my list.
Which is why it's not on my list, but because I haven't seen it, because I can't make it a top movie if I've never seen it.
That's fair.
Okay, my last one and number 1. Can you guess what it is? It's also pre-1980.
Is it a movie that I would know about?
Yeah.
That I know that you would like, or that I know that you do like?
It was an extremely popular movie and still is. You can watch it on TV, usually on one of the marathons. They'll have multiple. It's a series of movies.
It's a series of movies.
Right. There's multiple movies.
Pre-1980.
There's actually 5 of them.
Is it Major League?
No.
What is it?
Rocky.
Oh, Rocky. Really?
Rocky. Yeah. So
I mean, that is a good movie, but I didn't know it was that far up.
1976, Sylvester Stallone, Talia Shire, Carl Weathers, nominated for 10 Academy Awards, and it won
Oh,
three.
that's it.
It won three, including Best Picture.
Do you think it could have tried to grab a couple more? That's a little low.
I mean, 10, just a paltry 10 Academy Award nominations. Um, I I like the movie because of the hero doesn't win. It's not a it's an underdog story, right? Man from nowhere. He has one shot. He has a fight against the champ. The guy he was supposed to fight, can't fight for whatever, hurt his hand. He gives a local guy a chance. He's fighting in Philadelphia on New Year's Day, and he picks a local guy to fight against, and he doesn't win because that would be your normal end of the story, right?
Yeah.
The underdog wins and everybody's happy and we go home happy. He doesn't win. Now he's probably robbed a little bit, right?
Right.
Because it's by decision, but it's one of those movies where you still feel good when you go at the end of it, right?
Yeah.
Just yeah. Anyway, I thought it was
There's a lesson to be had there about being good, but still not winning.
right. So Rocky 2 is terrible.
It's terrible.
It's the boxing scene at the end where they both like knock each other down, and they're racing to see who can get up and beat the count is one of the most improbable, weird, stupid things I've ever seen. It's just terrible. The boxing part is terrible in Rocky 2. They made Rocky 2 so that Rocky could become champion. And it's terrible. Rocky 3 is excellent. The acting in is excellent. Mr. T is excellent as Clubber Lang, as the Bruiser. You know, he looks like a Mike Tyson kind of guy, and that is much better. Even Rocky 4, with what's his name, the Russian.
Ivan.
Ivan Drago. But yeah, what's his name?
The actor?
Yeah.
Oh.
He was in all of the Expendables movies and
my
crap.
gosh.
Yeah,
Dolph
right?
Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren. There we go.
That's the one.
He was really good in that movie. He didn't say a whole lot, but he was really good in that movie. Anyway, it was just one of those. Yeah, that was 4 even was better than I don't know. Anyway, so there you go. So I think Rocky is probably one of the best.
10 Academy Award nominations puts it in the top 50
Yeah.
for most nominations.
Yeah.
For a single film. It's right up there with like the most recent the Joker
and
movie.
And if you count the Creed movies that are out now,
yeah.
Creed 2, Creed 3, technically there's 6 in the franchise.
I just watched the first Creed movie and it was pretty good, but everyone says they are really good.
Yeah.
That they do a good job of being true to the story and themes and things like that. So I don't know.
Right.
Maybe I should give them a bigger chance.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. And what are your honorable mentions?
Oh yeah, you got to hear some. You got to hear some of these movies that did not make my list.
We'll see which ones we both put on here.
Okay, hold on. I'm still looking for a quote, and I just can't find it. The introduction of Apollo Creed in Rocky as the defending champion is one of the most amazing. 10 seconds or however long it is it takes him to say all the things that Apollo Creed is. The Dancing Destroyer, the King of Sting, the Count of Monte Fisto, the Thane of Pain, the Prince of Punch, the Master of Disaster, the one and only Apollo Creed.
That's fair.
Is one of the best introductions I've ever heard. The Count of Monte Fisto. Come on, man. Yeah, that's crazy. Anyway, all right, there you go. So on my list, here you go. So there's some things on my list that I would have Cool Runnings on there. I thought that was a good choice. The Natural.
Yes.
Robert Redford. These are baseball movies. Let's go with The Natural. Bull Durham. Right? Bull Durham is one of the funniest. A League of Their Own. Major League.
That's a good one.
Right?
Major League's up there, yep.
Yeah. And A League of Their Own is up there just because there's no crying in baseball. Everybody knows that quote. Right?
Yep.
So football movies. All right. Friday Night Lights.
Well, hold on. Baseball movies you left off that are on mine.
Yeah.
Rookie of the Year,
Rookie of the Year was pretty good.
and Moneyball.
Moneyball was okay. I didn't like it as much.
Moneyball was just about analytics,
And it
and
was.
sometimes it's fun watching people just figure something out.
It was an interesting movie from the science, I guess, of baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The science, like you learned a little bit about cap spaces and things like that.
Right. It was different.
It was I liked that part of it.
Okay.
But now let's go to football.
Football movies. Friday Night Lights.
Mm,
The Replacements.
that's on mine.
Rudy.
Good movie. Mm.
All the Right Moves. Tom Cruise. Okay. You don't have to like them all. Heaven Can Wait. Warren Beatty. If you've never seen that one. Great movie. Jerry Maguire.
Ooh.
Right? Remember the Titans.
I'm glad that Jerry Maguire didn't come up because I wouldn't call Jerry Maguire a sports movie. I would call Jerry Maguire a business movie.
It is a business movie that happens to be about football.
That operates in sports, all sports.
Right.
So it's kind of non-discriminate. But your main character is Rod Tillman. So
Rod Tidwell steps out of the shower and Jerry Maguire goes, "Towel?" And he goes, "No, I air dry." Right?
It's a good line.
It's a great line. That was just before Show Me the Money. Anyway.
Yeah, that was just before that.
Right. So those are all the football ones I have. Remember the Titans was the last one. And that's a great movie, too. That's a feel-good movie, too.
Sure.
Go ahead. What do you got in football? Any of those other ones that I didn't mention?
The only one you didn't mention that is on my list is The Waterboy.
Waterboy would have been a good one, too, yeah.
Waterboy.
Oh, it is on my list.
Yeah.
I just didn't read it. There it is. They're not in order, so I just sitting here breezing over them. They're not in any order. I just found them as I went, and I just threw them on here. Waterboy, Waterboy's a cheetah. Anyway.
Waterboy's a cheetah. Yeah.
That movie.
I still say Captain Insano shows no mercy.
Captain Insano. Right? And I always say,
kid.
And I always say that women are the devil. So there's that.
You do say that a lot. The devil.
The devil.
You ever catch that gorilla that escaped from
that gorilla. Yeah. And I love the fact that when she's sleeping, right? She's actually asleep. His mom is actually asleep, and she's sitting there going, devil. You know what I mean? Just mumbling in her sleep, devil. Because everything's the devil. I think that was great. What are we at here? What have I got left?
Well, we're forgetting like the best lines from that movie. Like, oh no, we suck again.
Oh no, right?
Every time one of my teams trades somebody I like, I'm like, oh no, we suck again.
What is it? It's the fourth quarter. There's no holding back now. What does he say?
Yeah,
over and over.
Last game of the season.
Yeah, no holding back.
Let's hold anything back now.
Yep.
All right, football's good. What about basketball? What do you got for that?
You know what? Here's the thing. I do not have another basketball movie on this list. I've watched some of them and I just don't like them.
Okay. Semi-pro?
The semi-pro would be the exception, but I kind of left that off of here. I have a number of funny movies, but semi-pro is good because of the interaction between him and the other guys, Will Arnett and Tim Meadows and those guys when they're playing poker. And the Jive Turkey conversation comes up?
That's right.
Right?
That's the one that gets mom all the time.
That's hilarious. But your mom...
White Men Can't Jump?
Yeah. So White Men Can't Jump, I thought about. It's good. I don't know.
I didn't put it on mine because I felt like it didn't have enough basketball.
It's a love story?
It's a life story?
Survival
story?
Well, let's talk about that.
Almost?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
It's kind of interesting. But it's pretty good. Joanna Man?
Nope.
Not on your list? Like Mike? With Bow Wow?
Like Mike. Space Jam would have been the only other thing that could have been on my list.
Space Jam is on my honorable mention.
The first
but only because it's I haven't even seen the second one. But only because it's like it was unique and different at the time.
Right.
So.
And it was part of everybody's 90s.
All right. And so absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I guess we can go with we'll just say the rest of the sports.
The rest of the sports. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Chariots of Fire.
Ooh.
Great movie. A little intense in terms of sports movies, for me. Dodgeball.
Dodgeball was on my honorable mentions list.
And it should be. Talladega Nights.
Talladega Nights is on my honorable mentions list.
The Color of Money.
Color of Money. Good movie.
Which is a sequel to The Hustler.
Yeah.
And if you ever watched The Hustler with Paul Newman. Raging Bull.
Well, Robert De Niro.
Yeah. And then $1 Million Baby. And then
that's what rounded them out.
And then what's that?
Oh, I thought you said that was all. Sorry.
And I have one more.
Yeah, what is it?
The Big Lebowski.
bowling movie?
It's a kind of.
Not
I
even.
mean, it's a stretch,
Not even.
but I mean, kind
you,
of.
You should have gone with not the big. What's the other bowling movie? Kingpin.
Kingpin was Kingpin was a good movie too,
That's
because
a great movie.
we could have Munsoned that one in there. But I mean, I think The Big Lebowski with John Turturro,
Yeah.
right, and his outfit and the ball and all. I mean, the whole
There's a
league
sequel
thing.
to that movie.
Yeah.
With just about him.
The whole league thing set up, right, where they're all compete, and that really reminds me of 70s bowling. You know what I mean? People all dressed up, and they got their little rituals with the ball, right? You got to clean it a certain way, you got to dry it, you got to hold it a certain way. The walk is a certain way. All that stuff was hilarious, but yeah, it's not necessarily all about that, because it's really about the rug, which ties the room together.
The rug. It's what the whole entire movie is about. The rug that ties the room together.
Well, that's just like your opinion, man. So,
all right. Yeah. So the best of my rest, and I forgot one here for the baseball, which was 61.
61's not a bad movie.
Yeah, it's pretty good movie, but it was like blended in with something else. The Mighty Ducks.
Mighty Ducks would have been a good one too. Yeah.
And D2 and D3. D4 not so good.
Yeah.
They lost me at D4.
Okay.
But those are two really big ones. Varsity Blues is on my list.
Varsity Blues would have been a good one.
Yeah, but again, I forgot to put it in football. So
that's
what are you gonna do?
That's all right.
Happy Gilmore.
Also, yeah, would have been okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Happy Gilmore is one of those ones that anytime it's on, it's hard not to watch.
I watch that too.
Yeah. Those are my big extra ones though.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of really good sports movies out there.
And if you notice that most of the ones that you like watching, that you'll watch whenever they come on, they're funny. They have a lot of humor to them, and that's the ones you really enjoy. And it could be just us, you know what I mean? But it's one of those things where you like the funny sports underdog, Cinderella story. You like those things just because the way they are, right? Ty Webb and Danny. What's Danny's last name? Shoot, in Caddyshack. They're sitting there on the fairway, and he says something about working in a lumber yard, and he goes, "No shame in working in a lumber yard. I own 3 of them." And he goes, "I noticed you spend a lot of time there." And he goes, "I don't know where they are." You know, that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff is some of the best. I really don't know where they are. Anyway,
you know, I just saw one pop up just now that I don't know why they put Draft Day.
Draft Day is another interesting one.
It is a movie about sports that features 0 live sports within the framework of the movie. So there's no moment in the movie where they show a sport actively happening and then refer back to it. They show clips of previous sport, but they only like 3 or 4 of them.
Is there one of the movies that's on your honorable mention that you think you should have rated higher?
The Waterboy.
Okay.
Like looking back on it and starting to talk about it, I'm like, yeah, that was a much better movie than I was prepared to admit.
And who's the best character in that movie?
The best.
Just saying, who would you say is the best character in The Waterboy? I mean, you can say Adam Sandler if you want to, but whose character is the best in that movie? Who is the best actor?
It might be Henry Winkler.
It might be Henry Winkler.
It might be Henry Winkler.
That's what I'm going to go
with. He says some real funny stuff.
Yep, he does.
I'm going to get a hot pretzel.
Use it on the field. You know? I mean, he is so good in that movie. I don't know why he's so good, but he's really good in that movie. I'll tell you which one I probably should have ranked higher now that I'm looking at it. It's probably Jerry Maguire. And it's because of Show Me the Money, which everyone knows, right? You hear Show Me the Money. You also know You Had Me at Hello.
You had me at hello. You complete me. Yeah.
You complete me, right? You all of those things are so good, and you know you're not gonna make me cry, Roy.
The human head weighs 8 pounds.
The human head weighs 8. There's so many good lines from that movie, and
that is a classic.
I
never thought I would just know how much the human head weighs off the top of my head, but apparently you can learn.
Right.
So, but no, those are all good choices to rate higher.
And he says, you know, the fucking zoo is closed, Ray.
And he looks at him. He's like,
"Oh, you said fuck." I know, right? And he goes, "I gotta go. My mom's coming."
I gotta go. He just keeps saying it over and over. You gotta go.
I gotta go. Anyway. Yeah, no, that was good.
Yeah, it was pretty
That
good.
was a good set. Next week we're going to talk about sports quotes.
Sports
Quotes
quotes
from
from
sports
athletes,
personalities. You're
coaches.
correct.
I'll even go with like refs and stuff. Well, one thing I
Sure.
don't want to quote though is like commentators. Like
No,
I don't want to quote Shaq as an
no,
analyst.
no.
I want to quote Shaq from the court.
If he said it from when he was a player, then it's fine. That's what
Right.
we're doing. We're doing people who are actually in the sport at the time, whatever their quote is.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know that right off the top of your head, you're thinking of coaches because coaches say a lot of the things,
Coaches get asked a lot of questions.
and they say a lot of the things that you go and or it could all be Yogi Berra. We could just have the top 10 Yogi Berra quotes because there's enough of those. I don't know, but we'll talk about that next week. We'll have you go up with top 5. We'll do the top 5 quotes, sports quotes, and yeah, that'll be good. Next week we're going to talk about I don't know what we're going to talk about. Major League Baseball, right? New rules. How are they working?
Yeah.
Are they working? Are they not? Are you more interested in baseball than you were? Has anybody watched the whole baseball game this year? Now that it's 26 minutes shorter or whatever it is. What else can we talk about next week? There's a lot of things going on. We'll talk about the Canadian Grand Prix, which is coming up this weekend. We'll talk about Major League Soccer, where it's at right at the moment, and is Lionel Messi going to be a savior for Major League Soccer? WNBA is underway. We could talk about that. I don't know if we will. We will touch on it briefly. But we're going to run out of sports here pretty soon. But the USFL is headed to their championship, so we might talk about that a little bit too. Anything else you can think of? College World Series. Men's College World Series. We talked about that. The Oregon Ducks just lost in the Super Regional, and it was kind of heartbreaking because they won. They completed that big comeback in Game 1, down 8-0 in the second inning or third inning. I think it was the top of the third. Down 8-0 to Oral Roberts. No, in 96 previous tries, no college baseball team had come back from an 8-run or larger deficit in a regional tournament game or in a super regional tournament game. It had never been done before. And then Oregon scores 9 runs and wins at 9-8 in the bottom of the ninth. So they're 1-96 as teams now. But anyway, it was a crazy good, and then they lost 2 more games to Oral Roberts, and now they're out. So
yeah.
But they couldn't throw a strike to save their
Oral Roberts.
Couldn't throw a strike to save their ass in the last 2 games. So
yeah, they got rallied on game 2. They should have won.
And they should have won game 2, right? And then game 3 they just were never in it. So
yeah.
Anyway, but congratulations Oregon Ducks for making it that far because really they weren't expected to.
True.
But yeah, College World Series will be next weekend. Starts this weekend, Thursday or Friday. So we can talk about that next week too. What else? Anything else? I think that's it.
That's all I got.
I think that's it. We'll have enough to talk about, and then we'll talk about the sports quotes, and then we'll figure out what to do the week after because we need another topic, right?
Right.
Yeah. I don't know what that is right at the moment. So you work on that. I'll let you come up with the topic. Oh, Statement Stone trivia question.
Oh, yes.
We forgot about that. What team has the longest current championship drought of the 4 major sports leagues in the United States? Do you know the answer? Because you think you do.
I definitely don't know the answer.
Okay.
My guess is the Cleveland Browns.
It is not the Cleveland Browns.
Is it that sport?
It is that sport.
It's football, and it wasn't the Lions.
Nope.
Let me get a hint. AFC or NFC?
It's the NFC.
NFC. Cardinals?
The Arizona Cardinals. Have gone 76 years without a championship. Their last win as a champion was hold on, I got slides for this. Their last win was in 1947 as the Chicago Cardinals. Before they moved to St. Louis.
They've never even won one in Arizona.
Before they moved to Arizona. Yep. And tied for second on that list of teams is the Cleveland Guardians, formerly the Cleveland Indians, and the Sacramento Kings, who are tied with 73 years each.
Interesting.
So there you go. Yeah. 76 years without a championship. That's a long time. So
that's a minute.
So all your Portland Trailblazer fans who are going, gosh, it's almost been 50 years. Well, it gets worse.
Yeah.
It just gets worse.
Could be way worse.
It could be way worse. All right, so there you go. Again, we're I got music. I can't play the same music because I don't have the right length.
That's what I'm waiting for.
There you go. That's the one you want. There you go. You got it.
That's one of my favorites.
Uh, Again, we're on YouTube every week. We're on Twitter at Lamm Sports, on Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show. You can email us lambsports@gmail.com. Want to thank all of our sponsors, The Range, Boss Kitty Yarn, Stone, Wine Estates, the Hood River, Fox Sports, NBC Sports, ESPN, ABC, all those people. This has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media, LLC. Want to thanks you for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.